Hello, everybody. Intuition here. Thank you so much for making some time and space for us. Today, we would like to talk about the idea of fear. And notice how we said idea. Listen to the word that we used, idea. Not the feeling of fear, not the identification that you have to fear itself, but the idea of fear. Because truly it is an idea. Though it does feel very real at times, it does have the ability and capability to take over your entire body, to affect your thought process, to literally destabilize you, to throw you out of balance, to move you into a shock state in which you are unable to move, literally and figuratively. However, at the end of the day, it is still just an idea. A very powerful idea, a very strong idea, but an idea nevertheless. And so therefore, we feel it is important for us to talk about it, to share our 2 cents, to share how the universal principality that intuition is, share our understanding of what fear is. And fear, again, is simply an idea that either helps or dissuades us from what it is that we are really trying to do to begin with. And again, we say it is an idea, we bold, we highlight, we underline, because if you understand it as anything but, then you are giving it much too much power. Because to say it is a feeling, to say it is an identification, well, you are mislabeling it. And when you mislabel things, then you get in all sorts of trouble. When you don't understand what the word is that you're using, and then you keep on repeating to yourself the same word, I am afraid, I am fear, I am, then you start to believe what it is that you're telling yourself. If you keep on sharing to yourself, oh my goodness, there's a big scary man and therefore I'm afraid. Oh my goodness, the society in which I am living in is very, very scary and therefore I'm scaring myself. But again, all of these things are an idea that you keep on repeating to yourself over and over and over and over and over again until eventually you believe it. And then that belief drives you into a behavior that is not based in who it is that you are, that is not based in anything that is in reality, that is not even based in the knowing of all that is that you are. Because if you were standing in the knowing of all it is that you are, you wouldn't be telling yourself an idea, then therefore creating a belief, then therefore that belief driving a behavior that again is not you. Because the thing about a belief, the thing about an idea, is that an idea, if you say it a bunch of times, creates a belief, and then that belief, therefore, you need to have to keep on reaffirming in order for you to make it true. So if you keep on telling yourself that you are afraid, what it is that you're really saying is that I want to be afraid. I want to feel something. And therefore, because I want to feel something, whatever it is, in this case, fear, then I have to keep on telling myself it. Otherwise, I won't feel anything. And goodness, that could be scary for some of us. For some of us, we just want to feel something. And fear is the most visceral feeling of all for many of us. Many of us, it's hard to talk ourselves into happiness. It's hard to talk ourselves into joy. But fear, because it is so widespread, because it is so socialized, because it is so normalized, because it is so indoctrinated into everything in which we do, fear, we are taught how to speak into belief. Even as young kids, we were taught from our parents how to be afraid. Oh, Jimmy, watch out for that corner. It's a sharp one. It's a very sharp ledge. It's a very sharp corner you're about to go around. Be careful. And what does that say to Jimmy? Be afraid of corners. You say it enough to Jimmy, and then Jimmy becomes hyper afraid of corners. Now as an adult, Jimmy can't stand the sight of a corner because it terrifies him. What if he bumps into it and dies? So you're taught from a very young age how to speak into belief, the idea of fear, that therefore makes us have a feeling, then therefore becomes overpowering. But again, You have to say this to yourself a million times. I am afraid. Oh my goodness, there's a corner coming up. Let me really reaffirm this belief that I'm afraid by throwing an image in there to make it very visceral and scary. Do I have anything in my memory bank that compares to how scary this could be, so that I really make it very real for myself and terrify myself, and therefore I become so afraid that I cannot move. But again, bold, highlight, underline, it is an idea. You're starting with an idea and creating a mountain from the smallest little anthill. And we're not talking about real fear, survival fear, where there's a bear coming. That is different. That is for your life, so to speak. That is to keep you safe on some level. But most of us do not use our fear in that way. We do not use our fear in balance. We use our fear completely out of balance. We take it completely out of context. And again, make a mountain out of an anthill. Now, unless there's a bear coming at you, then you feel fear and it is real. But if you have to tell yourself, oh my goodness, what they're saying is scary. What does that mean? I don't even understand what it is that they're saying, so I'm going to be afraid of it. I don't understand what I'm seeing, so therefore I'm going to be afraid of it. That is you telling yourself an idea, and the idea is I do not understand it. Because I do not understand, I'm going to be afraid. But again, that is you choosing to be afraid based off of something that you feel you do not understand. And therefore, because you feel you do not understand something, you want to feel something other than maybe confusion. But I'm not sure if you've heard it in one of my other talks, but confusion is just a state of suspension. It is a space similar to that of stagnation. It is a space in which you keep yourself. You say that you're confused, but again, if you have to say that you're confused, then you're not really confused. It kind of cancels it out. If you were really confused, you wouldn't even be able to conceive that you were confused to begin with, and therefore you definitely wouldn't be able to say, I am confused. Those things don't exist. If you're really confused, you'd be in such a state of confusion, you wouldn't even be able to form words to what it is that you're confused about. Nevertheless, speak it into the air and say, I'm confused. So, if you're saying that you're confused, and then therefore that is putting you in a state of fear, then that more so even shows that you are putting yourself into a decision to feel fear as opposed to feeling something else. Because if you were choosing, then therefore to feel something because you want to feel something, because you're feeling as though you are not feeling anything at all in that moment, then therefore again, you're choosing to feel something. And therefore, if you are choosing to feel anything, then why is it fear? If you feel you do not understand something, you could move into any emotion that you want if you insist on moving into any emotion at all. You could move into no emotion at all and just move into a knowing, an understanding, but I guess that might be too hard for some of us. It is usually easier to move into an emotion because we think that the emotion will figure it out for us. Well, I'm confused, which we already said is not real. It is not that you were confused. It is a state of limbo so that you can make a decision either way about what it is that you're saying you're confused about. It is a way for you to not move, but feel good about not moving as opposed to literally just being stagnant. It is just another fancy word for stagnation. So I'm confused. And I still don't really know what way to go. So maybe I'll throw myself into fear. Maybe that will figure it out for me. Now I'm afraid. Now I'm throwing an image to it from my past to really make it visceral. Now I'm really listening to what everybody else is saying, but instead of actually hearing what it is that they're saying, because of the lens of the past, that is now making this moment more visceral in the state of fear that I'm in. I can't even hear what it is that's being said. Now I'm distorting what it is that's being said through my lens of fear, and I'm not even hearing truth. I'm hearing a distortion that's just adding more to this confusion, which is adding more to my state of fear, which is now going to put me into a state of shock. And all of that is me putting me into something that I don't need to put myself in, because again, I'm choosing to feel something that I don't need to feel. And I'm saying that you're choosing to feel it because again, you are just speaking yourself into believing an idea. So for many of us, when we are not seeing a bear coming around the corner, when we're not seeing a car swerving down the street about to hit us as we are pedestrian on the walkway, for many of us, we take the idea of fear outside of survival and keeping the body alive. We like to take it and use it as a way to maybe help us to better understand the situation that we're in, as we like to do that with most emotions and feelings, because we believe that it will put us into motion. Emotion will put us into motion. But for many of those emotions that we're over-reliant on, they don't really do anything for us other than suspend us even more in that state of confusion and help us to not really go anywhere. But it does help us to feel good in the moment because, well, I couldn't do anything because I was in a state of shock. Don't you understand? I was so afraid I couldn't do anything. Well, Jojo, was there a bear coming at you? No. I just heard somebody talking and it was so scary. And again, we are not minimizing when you guys put yourselves into fear. It is scary when you put yourself into anything. But again, where's your accountability? It is you putting you into fear. Nobody else could do that for you. Nobody else is that powerful other than you. Nobody else could make you feel anything without your consent. And that is a hard one to chew. But it is true. Because again, people could say really mean things about you. People could do really mean and terrible things to you. But at the end of the day, you have to choose whether you're going to take that and internalize it and make it into something more than what it is. Because it doesn't matter what people say about you. It doesn't really matter what people do to you. It can be hurtful. But you choose what you do with it. And you choose how you feel about it. And you choose if you're going to take that on and actually believe what it is that that person is saying is true about you. But if you know yourself, it really doesn't matter what anybody says about you or what anybody does to you because you know yourself. It is only when you don't know yourself that you allow people to say mean things about you and you actually take it in. It is only when you don't know yourself that you suspend yourself in a state of fear or happiness or anxiety or sadness or woe. But all of that, again, is not necessarily what it is that you're identifying it as. Many of the feelings that you insist to over-identify with aren't really even yours to begin with. They feel like they're yours because they're in your body. But if anything is really yours, truly inherently yours, then you know what to do with it. Right? If something is genuinely yours, truly yours, you're not running around with it like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to figure out what it is and where it came from and why you're feeling this way and what does it really mean and how could it happen to you. If it's really yours, you know exactly what it is, you know exactly where it came from, you know what to do with it, and you know how to move forward with it. But for many of us, feelings aren't really even ours. Not to say that somebody's giving it to us, somebody outside of ourselves, something outside of ourselves. That is another topic for another day. But again, for many of us, we take fear and over-identify it, we take feelings and over-identify with it. And therefore we think it is ours, when again, it is not necessarily ours, and it is not even necessarily a feeling to begin with. It is something completely different. But again, because we insist on having to label things and identify things as something, because we assume that it's us, then therefore we get into all kinds of trouble. But back to fear. So, how are you allowing fear, the idea of fear, the illusion of fear, to run your life or to stagnate you so much that you stop living your life? Because for some, fear is a great immobilizer. But for some, that is the only way that you get into movement at all. Because sometimes, again, for some, we use it and then we move into a state of shock, which further suspends us, which further confuses us, which further allows us to stay in one state and therefore not to make a decision. And we feel comfortable on some level, not making a decision and going anywhere, than actually venturing off or making a decision or choosing to go one way or another. But for some of us, we take that fear and we move that into another energy altogether, which is anger, and then that picks us up and moves us in a direction. But Again, because we're not in balance and we're not in our right mind, that moves us usually into a direction of chaos. But nevertheless, you are moving. And for some of us, that is the only way we know how to move. From fear into anger, into rage, into chaos, into collateral damage. There's nothing wrong with that, I suppose. At least you're moving somewhere. But still, if that is the way that you're trying to move, then there are many, many, many other ways to move. Because again, that is all just coming from the idea of fear. The idea then that transforms into anger, which is still an idea. And I cannot emphasize enough, I'm not minimizing this idea that you guys don't really feel the feeling that you're believing you feel, because once you believe it, yes, you absolutely do feel it, but you had to talk yourself into believing it first. So it is important to realize what is happening inside of your own head, because if you're not even aware of what it is that you're doing to yourself, then you're going to keep on running yourself into circles and not understanding why you're not really going anywhere to begin with. Why you say, I want all this for myself, but you end up with just that much when you could have had all of it. But you can't have all of it if you're not even aware of what's going on inside of your mind, what it is that you're telling yourself to believe from an idea, but then becomes an actual belief, and then from that belief becomes a behavior, and then that behavior starts running your life until the fumes of that feeling run out, and then you become confused again because you were allowing that feeling to run you for God knows how long, instead of you running you. But again, now that you know this, you have the option of a choice. You do not have to allow feelings, which are not even really yours to begin with, to run your life. Because again, as I said, that is an idea that you tell yourself outside of the natural survival mechanism that kicks in when you are in danger. But again, for most of us, we are not in inherent danger bodily wise, but we are always in a state of fear anyway. So, how are you using your feelings? How are your feelings either helping you or hindering you on your growth in all it is that you are and remembering all it is that you are? Is it helpful? Are you getting to where it is that you want to go? Or are you stagnant, wondering why you keep on running in circles, getting nowhere, but seemingly feeling exhausted, going nowhere? So we leave you with that. That is enough to chew on for now. As always, we thank you for making time and space for us, and we wish you well in your decision and your choice on whether you're going to allow a feeling to move you into emotion, wherever that motion is, or if you just want to be in motion, not from any feeling, but from your own desire to move. We wish you well. Good luck in your feelings and emotions.